In every artist's mind, I think there are two types of artists. There's the one that practices all day and comes up with brilliant ideas and executes that piece beautifully. It's that image that I think most people get in their mind when they think artists. They think of someone holed up in a room all day, surrounded by canvases and messy paint rags, and they hardly ever see the light of day because they're that impassioned and committed to painting beautiful masterpieces. And then there's the one who wants to practice. And they do so sometimes, but not as often as they'd like. And they come up with brilliant ideas that they forget to write down and eventually just forget about. Then sometimes they try to get their ish together, but they're plagued by a litany of unfinished pieces and half-filled sketchbooks and unfinished PSDs. Is that just me? I'm not sure if that first artist actually exists, but I sure as heck would like to be a lot closer to that. I'm currently much closer to the train wreck that is the second artist, but the dream is to one day have my ish together just enough that I could have a consistent stream of pieces I'm proud of rolling out like clockwork. So this little series is where I fix that. I have lots of salvageable pieces or great ideas that I need to rework that I've come up with either recently or just had over the years that I either didn't feel confident enough to finish or I lost the inspiration. I put that in quotes because like all good things or all important skills you try to learn, you learn pretty quickly that inspiration and motivation are fleeting and you kind of need discipline to really pull you through. And I think I'm at that stage in my life, that age where discipline has kind of come knocking on my door and said, Natalie, get yourself together. So let's start the first piece in this little series I want to do called Finish This Drawing. Okay, so enter this creepy lady that I have had for several years. I initially abandoned this piece for a few reasons. The lady intimidated the hell out of me. I mean, just look at this image. I'm sure she's a nice lady and all, but this image is hella creepy. I found it while looking up black and white portraiture. I think I had specifically typed in high contrast portraits because I wanted to do some ink work. So I was saying, okay, I had heard that high contrast photos really force you to study the shape of the face and stuff. And I was also getting interested in lighting. So I thought I would kill two birds with one stone and look up something high contrast and do it with some inks just for practice. And I found this lovely lady and everything in it was so dark and intense, even though her face itself seems rather kind. I think it's specifically the eyes. The eyes were just so dark. Even the whites of her eyes were almost black, and it kind of just unnerved me. Second, I couldn't figure out how to properly portray the shadows and stuff on her face. I didn't feel confident enough in my ability to do it, and I started out with a little sketch and I laid down some base layers, and eventually I just chickened out and I put it away in my sketchbook, or not sketchbook, I put it away in my watercolor pad, and it stayed there for about 5 years. So I decided I would start with this piece because, it's kind of half finished. There's already some groundwork laid. So I thought it was a nice baby step piece to jump in and finish off some old works, you know, all those pieces that I have laying around my house that are just boring holes in the back of my head, staring at me one day waiting to be finished. So I went in with, I don't even think I'm using the same ink that I started it out with. I started out with my Dr. P.H. Martin's Black India ink, but I have so little of that left. I'm afraid to use it in ink wash pieces because I really want to preserve the little that I have left. And with the whole COVID thing and shipping routes being displaced and shipping prices being so high now, I cannot bring myself to order new ink. So instead, I used my Winsor & Newton India ink, and it got the job done. I find that's a little less deep and dark as I would like. The Dr. P.H. Martin's is really deep and black, and I love it. It also has a kind of warmth or some underlying tone to it that when you look at it, it's not just flat gray when you wash it out. The Winsor & Newton seems a little flat to me. I'm not sure if that translates really through the camera, but yeah, it definitely, I do notice a difference in person between the two inks. So I started out with my little messy plastic palette, and I put 3 wells of ink, light, dark, and darker. And I went straight into the bottle itself to do the black background. When I actually got into the flow of this, I was actually a little upset with myself, and I had to reel that emotion in, you know, because I was getting into it and I was like, this really isn't so bad. You could have finished this forever ago. And while that may be true, I'm definitely a lot more mature in how I handle and process my feelings toward art. I know how to take a break now and come back and not just be frustrated with things. I know that I've definitely had a lot of growth, and I can more easily pick up facial features and stuff because I've been painting for an extra 5 years since I last attempted this piece. So had to squash that down a bit and say, this is future you talking to past you who was afraid of this. So no worries, just be calm. And as I started to really get into it, I started to enjoy myself. You know, I really liked painting it and watching all the little details that I put down further bring her to life and closer to the reference image I was looking at. I had to go in with my white Dealer Rowney ink to kind of put back some light areas where I didn't calculate the values properly. And I tried to gray out a little bit and do some finer details, like there's some wispy hairs that were coming off of her. And there was just something so satisfying about putting that little speck of white in her eye. Like, just putting down that little speck of white just makes the painting come to life. You know what I mean? And 5 years plus 2 hours of work later, here she is, all finished. Don't know why I was so afraid. Okay, yes I do, because she's still creepy. But I am so happy and proud of myself for actually finishing her and closing this little chapter on the book that is my guilty conscience when it comes to finishing my artwork. As I took some pictures of it, the little face detection square popped up, and I felt that little oomph of pride, you know, when the camera detects a face. It's like, you know, you did a job well done. I showed it to some friends and they were equally as disturbed as I am. And until I figure out what to do with her, she is now perched facing my wall so that I don't walk out at night and see her and have to pee myself. So I hope you guys enjoyed this little video. If you did, give it a thumbs up or leave me a comment if there's anything you would like to say about the piece. Let me know how much it disturbed you on a scale of 1 to 10. For me, it's a full-blown 8. I hope that this piece inspires some other fellow creatives to get back in there and look at some of your old work. If there's any works that you think are salvageable, you know, give yourself that little push and try to finish it. Or if you think it was a good concept but you just didn't have the skills to execute it the last time, try redoing it. I'm gonna have some more of those coming in the future, so stay tuned and subscribe to see more. With that said, I'm going to go look for some other art to finish, and I will see you guys next time. Bye guys.